What's going on, you sexy lambdas? It's your buddy Kevin Goatee here. So guess what? It is time for a new episode. This week, model Amy Taylor joins us to talk about why Risky Business from 1983 is just as silly as Tom Cruise trying to pretend that he's 6 feet tall. Joining me on my episode today is longtime friend Terry Loda. We're going to figure out if Amy Taylor can successfully take down Rebecca De Mornay, Tom Cruise, and of course Booger from Revenge of the Nerds saying this is all a bunch of nonsense. Let's find out. Caucasian, white guy, mustache about 6'3". That's a pretty big mustache. Terry Loda, guest host. I'm pretty sure you know that film.
That would be one of the Naked Guns, but I can't remember which one it was.
Ooh. You got a 1 in 3 chance if that is, in fact, the true answer.
33 and a third.
2.5.
Ah! Son of a bitch.
Who cares about that? Today, guys, we are joined by, like I had said, guest host Terry Loda and first time to the show, Amy Taylor. Amy, how goes it? What's going on?
Good. How are you guys?
Magical. What can I say? We're hanging out and all that. Amy has decided to come on and choose a film that 80s babies probably going to have a little bit of a problem with, and that, of course, 1983's Risky Business. A 1983 budget of $6.2 million. A box office haul of $63.5 million. Now, shall we turn that to 2023 money? $18.7 million budget in 2023 money, and a box office haul of 2023 money of, survey says, $192.4 million. What an ROI this film, Risky Business, has Terry Loda. I have to ask, Amy, what made you choose this film?
Well, the rules of the game were that it had to be either like a box office and or critical success, and indeed it was. Mm-hmm. And then the movie's about sex workers, and so I've been a sex worker, and so I have feelings about it.
You have, so it sounds like you've retired from the game.
I mean, never say never, but yeah, you kind of like eventually want to do other things, so we'll see.
Sex workers have feelings. I'm learning so much today.
So you pulled old Michael Jordan, went from 23 to 45 back to 23 and just unretired?
I mean, if you're still good, you're still good, right? But no, I mean, well, and it's like fuzzy. Like if you were a sex worker and then you like married and divorced well, is it that different? I mean, it's kind of just a different version of a similar idea. So I think that's it's blurry, the sunset of sex workers. I have thousands of retired sex worker friends, and the way they retire is like a little blurry, but you kind of, yeah.
You mean blurry because they're nodding off from a heroin overdose in the Buddy Ranch?
I mean, no. I mean, I don't know
Thankfully.
That, and I don't know anybody at the Buddy
Lamar
Ranch.
Odom, that's how he went out for a minute.
I mean, that whole world of like wilder stuff, I don't know anything about.
Right.
But no judgment. It's like a different kind of thing. But I mean, the people I knew weren't even like Lana in this movie. Like they didn't even have like management. Like I don't even know anybody like that.
Management. Yeah. I like to see like, you know how pilots have to retire at 65? There's no one out there going to sex workers like, you know what? Time to hang up that corset because that sun is set.
This is one of the most expensive and successful ones I know who just died last year was 64. Captivating Corey. She was stunning, and she was an actual sexual expert, and men loved her, and she was busy. She had a sudden heart attack, which is a real shame, but she was legendary, and she was not young. And also pilots only retire from class 1 at 65. I'm a pilot too.
I was going to say, did you bang enough pilots that you know that?
I am a pilot. Yeah, I've taught, and I've flown cargo and charter, and I have had join the Mile High Club, but not when I was flying because that's not safe. But I flew for an owner who wanted me to go in back and like fly and like set the autopilot. Like, fuck no, I'm not going to do that. But he wanted me to. No.
I mean, didn't he see Airplane where he was just getting the road head and he smoked a cigarette, the dummy?
It happens. It happens.
Magical. But listen, we'll get into some of those tales of lord and nonsense and shenanigans and debauchery later. Risky Business, Terry Lodo, what do you actually let's go. I'm sorry, I go to my guest first. Amy, what do you think that Risky Business scored on the old IMDb? IMDb 1 through 10 with decimal points. What do you think Risky Business scored?
8.2.
Terry Lodo, what's your guess?
Go a little bit lower, maybe like 7.6.
I wish this number was 1/10 higher. It's 6.8. Critics Rotten Tomatoes score is a 1 through 100 score. Terry Lodo, I go to you first now. What did the critics give Risky Business?
Let's go around the same thing. Let's go 75.
75. Amy Taylor, what do you have?
Well, now I'm going to go lower. 70.
92.
Can't win.
Shocker. Well, Amy, back to you. What did the audience give Risky Business? 1 to 100.
I'm going to say the audience was a little lower than the critics. 85.
Terry.
Go a little bit lower. 80.
73. That's shocking. I am floored that the critics love this a lot more than the audience did. And you two just don't give a shit. You two just don't give a shit about your stone silence. Okay.
It's like dark and creative, and it's the cinematography and the soundtrack that they fell in love with. Like every music video.
Hey, we'll get there. That's your points. You say that for your points. Quotes. Sometimes you just gotta say what the fuck. Make your move, Joel, every now and then. Saying what the fuck brings freedom. Freedom brings opportunity. Opportunity makes your future. So your parents are going out of town. You got the place all to yourself. What the fuck? Joel, get off the babysitter. I cracked up with that one. How's it looking? Looking like University of Illinois. I have a trig final tomorrow, and I'm being chased by Guido the Pimp. Those are the quotes that stood out to me. Amy, how about you?
I mean, I like when she says, go to school, Joel, learn something.
Right.
It's so dismissive, right? When he's worried about leaving her in his house and she says, learn something. And of course it's so nuanced because of what happens to his home and his life after that right. She knows, but he doesn't know yet.
Terry Loda, any quotes jump out at you?
It was really offensive when he got pretty vulgar on the phone with Mr. Guido. When he called him Buster.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing's going to get your furniture back like yelling at a pimp and calling him Buster. That really.
The only thing missing was him saying, like, I'm going to box your ears, Buster, like my grandmother would say.
Buster.
5 fun facts. At one point, the movie was titled White Boys Off the Lake. I'm pausing for effect. This sounds like a Chad and Cameron kind of porno film.
I thought it was Off the Light. No, it's Off the Lake.
Yeah, White Boys Off the Lake.
I mean, the lake is an important event in the movie.
You're absolutely right. Hey, here's a surprise. Bronson Pinchot, or as I'm going to call him for the rest of this conversation, Balky, said that working with Tom Cruise was, quote, weird, and called Cruise, quote, the biggest bore on the face of the earth. I would like to know what Balky's thoughts were on the guy who played Cousin Larry from Perfect Strangers, now that we're at it.
No one under 25 is going to have a clue what the hell we're talking about right now.
And I don't give a shit because this is funny.
It was actually weird to hear him speak in a normal speaking voice.
Right.
I don't even recognize when it comes out of him.
Right.
Yeah,
the only other movie for him, not two movies that I know of course, the obvious True Romance, which is excellent, and Second Sight with John Larroquette. Down that rabbit hole, no thanks. Number 3, as much as we can't imagine anyone than Tom Cruise playing Joel Goodson, a number of big actors auditioned for this role. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of them. Can you guys give me a few guesses who you think auditioned for this? They're all huge A-listers in the 80s, 90s, and even to a degree. Yeah, even one of them now. But 80s and 90s, these guys were top of the list.
Me?
Both of you guys. Yep, both of you.
I'm going to say Sean Penn.
That's one.
Ooh. Ooh, that's a good one. How about Nick Cage? I feel like
That's two.
I say that. I mean, Dustin Hoffman, because it's right around the Graduate time, right? Or no?
No, Graduate's the 70s. No, this is a little bit. He's a little. Yeah,
Okay.
he was too busy getting fitted for women's clothing for Tootsie, I believe.
God. Who else? 80s? I don't know. Tom Hanks? No?
Cummings,
What?
as in Alan Cummings, the gay Broadway English guy.
Oh.
I would like to see that movie.
Who else was big in the I don't know. Who else?
Terry, you got another guess, or you're gonna throw in the towel?
I'm gonna throw in the towel. Unless I was gonna say, I want to say Ferris Bueller, but I'm thinking fucking.
Broadway. No, not on that list. Ready for this? Michael J. Fox, John Cusack, and coked out bachelor party himself, Tom Hanks.
Hey, that's what she said when you thought she said Alan Cummings, but I like the Alan Cummings answer better.
I do too. She says, "Wait, Nathan Lane. What about him? He didn't throw his hat in the ring either." Sir Ian McKellen? No? All right. Number 4, after the release of Risky Business, Wayfarer, the sunglasses he was wearing, sales rocketed by some 2,000%.
Yep. The end of that movie when he puts them on, that was him. There's like a bit of a Mandela effect because you think when he does the famous dance in his underpants and he's actually not wearing them. And I think of him as having danced in them, but it's not true.
Right. I'm with you on that. By the way, I wonder how much sales for sunglasses that Tom Cruise wore in Mission Impossible 2, the Oakleys, because I bought a pair. So that means that they go up 1%.
You bought it because of him?
No, I liked it because of their cool sunglasses.
Solid.
I agree. I don't know why I always pictured. I thought he wore them in the dance scene too, and I think I was just thinking about the Saved by the Bell episode where they're all dancing with those on. So
yeah,
it just confused it too.
I couldn't tell you any specific Saved by the Bell episode except for when Jesse Spano pops speed.
Why is it's not supposed to be funny and it's funny?
I'm so scared. I know why she's funny, because she's a terrible actress. And if you don't believe me, go watch Showgirls, because that's a riot.
Showgirls is my Citizen Kane.
What? So when he says Rosebud and you watch Showgirls, that Rosebud is a lot different. Thank you. I will take a Wooler and sip of my Japanese whiskey. Thank you. Mm.
Ooh, nice drink.
Thank you. It sure is. Got it. These Koma Takagi.
My Gatorade.
Number 5. I don't want to even pretend to waste time, but Diane Lane was offered the role of Lana, but her dad did not want her to play a hooker. Now it sounds like Diane Lane had one type of parents, and Jodie Foster and Brooke Shields had 2 different types of parents, because Jodie's parents let her play a 12-year-old hooker in Taxi Driver, and let Brooke Shields get naked in Blue Lagoon at 15.
Megan Mullally was one of the hookers that Lana.
She was. You know what?
Which one she was, right?
I was just going to ask, who was she? I was too lazy to look that up.
One of them.
Was she the one in the van at the end trying to auction off?
She wasn't Jackie. We know that one. The first one.
I'll talk about that in a minute. All right, that's 5 fun facts. Let's get right over to where the fans want to jump in on the action. Of course, that being Ask a Gutter. Right to the top, Mike Price in L.A., my favorite Simpsons writer. What should Tom Cruise's punishment be for single-handedly extending Bob Seger's career?
I mean, that poor song. I mean, he's supposed to be a dork in the beginning, so he does what dorks do when they're home alone, right? He cooks a TV dinner and he dances around naked, and we're supposed to see the evolution of a dork into like what he becomes at the end with the Wayfarers, and he is an actual pimp, and it's not great that we glorified it, hence my opinion of the movie, but like we're supposed to see him be dorky. So it's good that it's kind of a dorky song, like as opposed to Tangerine Dream's original soundtrack for this movie, which is still one of the sexiest pieces of music I've ever heard. I mean, I think I
have notes on that, and I agree with you. I have it. I have it on my phone long before this film, so we're in lockstep together.
He could get. I don't know. He joined Scientology. I'm not going to talk anything bad about Tom Cruise. He scares me.
Oh, that Scientology scare is long over. This is not 2002 anymore. Don't worry, Amy. We're safe. We're safe.
Knocking on the door.
Yeah.
Right?
What was I gonna say? I had something to add on. Oh yeah, the Bob C. Yeah, am I the only one who's still doing the parody? I love that old cock in my hole instead of old time rock and roll. I don't. Oh, almost a spit take out of Amy. Look at that.
I mean, I feel like that's just you. I hadn't heard that. Is that a thing?
It was when you were at bored while working. While you were working restaurant jobs, you'd sing songs and make your own words up as we did.
I missed out.
The
I
horrible
never.
soundtrack.
Yeah. Next one at Lord Snurts. Never seen the movie, but I know the iconic scene. Well, way to go on a limb there, Lord Snurts. He's reading the summary. This seems like a Ferris Bueller's Day Off prequel with hookers and pot. How far off is my assumption? Parentheses, it's a busy work day, so just the basic question this time around. Your assumption, I'm going to answer for her. Sorry, but it's right on. Pretty much hookers and pot. It's nothing much after that. Who knows? At Wicked Awesome, Matt3571, sometimes you just got to say, what the fuck, and become a Scientologist. Do you? I mean, Katie Holmes said no, and look what that got her. Off-Broadway plays. That's what got her there.
I mean, don't mess with the Sea Org.
At Newark Night, Brandon Oglesby, is the dance scene where he's sliding around wearing a white t-shirt and sunglasses still an iconic scene, or is it overrated? I say it's overrated. Amy, how about you? I'm not the right audience for that, being it's a young, skinny, in shape Tom Cruise. I don't know. Maybe I am into this. Meow. But go ahead.
I don't know what she means by overrated. It's supposed to be a dorky kid home alone when his parents first leave. In that same way as like Superbad and Girl Next Door, and like he's not supposed to be cool yet. So I don't know what she means overrated. I mean, he was 21 when they filmed this, but he's supposed to be
19,
17.
I thought. I thought he was 19 when he filmed it.
Yeah, and so they had him eat like a high-fat diet, so he didn't have so much muscle, so he looked a little less juggernaut leading man than we all know him. I think had he already done Willow, but
No,
I mean,
this is before Willow. This is this is manorexic Tom Cruise, I guess we were talking about. Yeah.
right? I mean, I don't know what she means overrated. Like it's I think the funny thing is to watch it now, looking back at what he's become as this like little dork, because he's now arguably the most famous actor on the planet, right? So to me, it makes it funnier, and in that sense, not overrated. But if she's talking about like sex appeal, it's not sexy. The dancing's not good. I mean, I guess overrated in that quality, those quality parameters. I don't know what she means.
What's it's a he, but okay, nonetheless.
Oh, sorry.
We're not. I guess she's not. You didn't ask his pronouns. Just kidding.
Did I finish Jeffrey? Sorry.
No, that's poor Brandon. He'll take it up with his lawyers. And his follow-up question is, what is your favorite dance scene from a movie? And please don't copy mine and say when Captain Harris and Lieutenant Proctor dance in the Blue Oyster Bar in Police Academy 4.
Oh, that was gonna be mine. Mine is Jamie Lee Curtis's stripper scene in the hotel.
True Lies.
Her evolution from like nervous housewife into feeling herself. And she was getting older, but Jamie Lee Curtis has one of the best bodies that God ever created. I mean, that Perfection movie where she's a gym instructor and it's John Travolta and her, like, it's cheesy, but like her fucking body is something to behold.
She was She was definitely rocking in True Lies, no doubt. She would look fantastic, and and you don't even have to throw in there for the quote for an older woman. She looked at that time. I'm like, yeah, smoke show still can get it. Now her and Johnny Knoxville. What's the difference between a pair of D cup tits? That's it. Her and Johnny Knoxville could do a side by side, look the same.
Oh yeah. Yes, that's very sad.
Even with the black horn rimmed glasses, I still can't tell them apart, except for, again, the nice Jamie Lee Curtis boobs. Next, at Joe Loves Chem, including Tom Cruise from the 80s, is it ever okay for a man to wear tidy whities?
No. I mean, alone, no one sees you and you don't want to fuck. But if you're trying to fuck, like, boxer briefs, please.
Yeah. I was just going to say, is that another additional $250 they have to pay if they come out in tidy whities?
I mean, I've seen worse.
What have you seen that's worse?
What if they're stained?
Like, rich guys never have problems with their clothes, but like, ill-fitting when there's not a lot of muscle anymore.
Oh, a banana hammock when they look like Borat's assistant from the film wearing a banana hammock.
You're not wrong.
Thank you. And that looks like nope. At Kevin Israel wants to ask, what's the more iconic dance? Dancing pantless with a button down, or lifting your partner over your head when they run at you?
I mean, they're both great. They're both great, and they're both coming of age movies. And so it's kind of a similar thing. Although obviously one's alone, one's with a partner, but both of them, there's like this loss of innocence and coming of age. I think they're both great.
That was amazing how Patrick Swayze picked Jennifer Grey up all in one fell swoop and not getting hit by her nose as he picked her up and threw her in the air.
Hey now, hey.
I thought he parted her hair.
Yeah, she looks like Sam the Eagle from Sesame Street.
Don't insult prominent noses, sir.
At Rex, I'm sorry, at Pedestrian, what makes a man? Joey Pants or Eyes Wide Shut? I'm one of the very few people. I like Eyes Wide Shut. I think it is a good film. It gets unjustly shit on.
Yeah. Also very sexy.
Oh yeah.
How can you? Kubrick is incredibly creative.
He's hit and miss for me. He's hit and miss with me, but.
Yeah.
That's it. Closing Ask a Gutter. Thanks again for all of your questions. And if I didn't read it, shame on me. Well, hey, listen, who listens to the Ends of Podcast? Because the plugs get buried then. So let's do plugs right now. Amy Taylor, what are you up to? Where can we find you? Tell the good world what you're doing.
All over amytaylor.com and Twitter and Instagram, Amy Taylor NYC, because that's where I live. And I think if you just Google like Amy Taylor modeling, you'll find all the pictures and the dumb stuff like Playboys and fitness magazines and nonsense podcasts. So I'm around.
I like how you threw dumb stuff with Playboy. Like that back then was like the Bible, and that was currency for guys our age. Was I'll trade you a Tony Katane for I don't know, fill in the blank.
for Nicole.
Yeah,
at real orgies, people don't wear masks, right? I've been to a few orgies. They don't wear masks. Nobody wears a mask like Eyes Wide Shut. FYI.
I've been to a sex club, and I wish people did wear masks because that was horrendous.
It wasn't good?
No, it was one in the city. I go, here. It was one in downtown. I forgot the name. It was funny. I bang on the door, and the guy's like, what's the password? I go, boner. And he hits the buzzer, goes, That was funny. So,
that was the password?
Yeah, no, it wasn't. That's why I got buzzed. But then no, the girl I went with had the password. So we go in, and it was like I've never been on a cruise because I have high standards. It was like if people on a cruise ship were naked and hanging. Yeah, it was. We walked in. I'm like, I am a 15 in this room, where normally I'm about an 8. But no, it was a mess. And of course, everyone was hitting on the girl I brought. It was like, hey man, can I trade? I go, trade? I'm like, what kind of car do you drive? I need to get that in. I need to get a pink slip in there too and a house deed because this is an unfair trade. But so no, she would not.
For a great story.
Yeah, right. Oh. And
did you get laid at a orgy? That's awesome.
I just had her, we just banged her. And it was funny. The best part was the room we were in. It was those mats, like they're like wrestling mats on the ground, and like the mats you had on the walls of your gym at high school in that room. And of course, I got like rug burn from that, so I didn't know to throw a towel down. So I had vicious knee scabs.
Rug burn was the least of your worries, let's be honest.
Oh no, you're right, because that's why I had to go.
You got off easy.
Oh yeah, no. I go, can I get the Lysol, and just threw it on the floor and threw like a roll of paper towel, like when you unroll a toilet paper real fast and spin it, like just a trail comes out. That's why I just did that and just scooted it across the floor.
I'm gonna die.
Oh man, tell me she peed. Tell me you peed a little bit on that story.
I might have. It's awesome. It's so good.
That cost another 500, guys. So pay attention. Here we go. Let's get to the goods. So amytaylor.com. Terry, what about you? What do you want to plug besides how we'll have lunch sometimes at Jose Tejas?
That's all I was about to say. That's the only thing relevant we do is we eat at Jose's or First and 10. So that's pretty much the places that you'll find Kevin and I together. Yeah,
Terry's in corporate America, as am I, but he has to hide his identity. Yeah. I'm in corporate America, but it's no secret. So kevingoatee.com for all shenanigans and all that stuff. But more importantly, go to Gutting the Sacred Cow on all your podcast platforms and just leave one 5-star rating 2 or 3 sentence review. It helps in the algorithm. And I love shooting. What's the verb? Screenshotting my favorite reviews, posting them and all that. Of course, guttingthesacredcow@gmail.com if you want to say hi or drop a line. And away we go. So, Amy Taylor, it's about time for you to come out here and get those notes out. So, Terry Loto, why don't we welcome Amy to Gut the Sacred Cow. You know, this is like probably doing it when AOL was over a 14.4 modem and over a phone line.
Pretty much.
That horrible sound.
Yeah. Hurry up, my 800
hit guard. You didn't have that last time, so you really things are coming up, man. Something's really going good for you.
Thanks.
I mean, so why do I think this movie is not that great, to say the most?
Let's go.
I mean, okay, so I did make a few notes of my thoughts. So first off, I think it's a pretty terrible fantasy for like the American white heterosexual male. Like, it's this wish fulfillment. Like, yeah, it was the 80s, Reaganomics and all that stuff. I get it. But like, it reminds me of the little Andrew Tate douchebags now, the OnlyFans pimps that are all over the internet. Like, he wants sex and he wants pussy. Okay, fine. Yeah, I get it. That's like kind of what you're consumed with when you're that age. But it's like kind of a fantasy to be awful and get away with it. And then he does. There's no consequences. It's pretty questionable to profit off selling sex work labor to teenagers. I assume they're all over 18. It doesn't really say, but they're high school kids, so some might not have been. And instead of like looking at it from that perspective, our protagonist is kind of deeply unlikable because it's just viewed as like sexy, wild fun. And I get it. The whole theme is like saying what the fuck. And indeed he does. But even the consequence of Guido stealing all this stuff, he gets it back. And what's the big consequence? There's a crack in the egg. I get it, the maternal Madonna horror thing, that he's lost his innocence and all that, but he still gets to go to an Ivy League school, by the way, with the GPA and test scores that are impossible, if he hadn't been a pimp and provided girls for the admissions counselor, which is not the best model. Like, again, it reminds me of the Andrew Tate thing of telling young boys that the way to have a good life is to pimp women, not go to school. I mean, Joel does, but he's unqualified and he gets in by being a pimp, and get money and get women. And
Whoa. Slow down. I need to write that down in order. What was number 1 again?
I mean, being a pimp has probably been a fantasy. I get it. Control of women and control of money. Sure. That's probably been a fantasy of all young men forever, but it's a pretty juvenile fantasy. And
has it though? I mean, look, the whole pimp thing was ruined for me by when in Bachelor Party, they had to go to the Indian pimp. I go, this life is not for me. Or Mark, break your balls.
The room is in the bedroom.
Yeah.
I've known a couple of madams, and they both voluntarily quit because apparently it's a huge hassle. These are in countries where it's decriminalized, and it's not easy. The margins are thin. It's a real headache. So it doesn't tell the truth of that. And then, yeah, I mean, it's a fantasy of abject capitalism and prostitution. And I think, in real life, it would have shown like more consequences. And, we can talk later about the director's original ending, which at least shows the original ending's better, but America didn't like it because it wasn't really a happy ending. So it didn't sell as well.
Well, the studio didn't like it. The director wanted to, obviously, but the studio said, nope, we're going with choice A.
He becomes cold. He's lost his humanity. He humiliates her by saying, come and sit on my lap. And as I dump you forever, goodbye, go back to your tough life. And I go on to Princeton. And he's like a pimp. And there's a coldness. I've known pimps. I actually had to put one in prison. That's a whole nother story. I've talked about it. But there's a coldness to them when they start viewing women as inventory. And that is what happens to people who sell sex workers in a sort of unethical way, as he did. So I don't love who he turned into, and then I don't love that like it's just viewed as like a joke. And admittedly, he did it for like one night to get money back, to pay back a pimp. It's not like he was becoming a career pimp, but there is kind of an implication that he might keep going with it. That doesn't say that, but
right.
He's a young entrepreneur.
Yeah, I think it's just glorifying a teenage fantasy of being a pimp and then still getting into school because you pimped to the admissions counselor is not the greatest of values. It's a sex comedy. So it's, but to that point, which is the kind of the corollary of my first point, is the absurdity of the movie. Like it's pretty absurd that somebody who one day could barely even deal with women in a few days goes on a whim, calls a sex worker, and becomes like a cold, calculated pimp in such a short time. I understand it's a movie; it's cut for time, but
I don't think it was that cold and calculated. I just thought he was just a kid trying to figure his way around. Yeah, he didn't have the ins and outs of. I don't think his pimp hand was Jedi Master yet. I thought it was more limp wristed like Lamar Luttrell's pimp hand would be.
I mean, I'm thinking of who he becomes at the end. Like, I deal in human fulfillment, and I put on my Wayfarers, and I mean, the absurdity doesn't stop there too. Like, you've ridden the subway, like sex on a train. Maybe it's different in Chicago where this movie's filmed, but like, good luck, because if you're late at night on the subway here and you try to have sex, there's going to be a couple dancers try to make some cash.
Showtime's going to happen in the background.
And then some guy arguing with you and the voices in his head.
And then someone else taking a dump about 3 seats away from you.
I mean, if you can still get a chub during that, then honestly, God love you. Go for it.
I pledge a fraternity. That's old hat for me.
Whatever you're into, it's cool. And then, yeah, I was pretty mad that he gets into Princeton with a 3.1 in scores. I went to Berkeley, and like, you had to bust your ass just to get into like a shitty public school. So like, you can't get into school. But again, he pimped for the admissions counselor.
Wait a minute. Wait. He had a 3.1. I knew his combined scores were like around 1,100. I go, that doesn't add up. That doesn't add up. But he had 3.1. I missed that part.
And his mom was mad because he had like not even, that was like maybe a 1,200, whatever. It was low. And we know that he didn't get in on the scores he got in because of what he did for the admissions counselor. So I guess that's what you're supposed to do to get into private school. I didn't know when I was 17. So it's just a little absurd. And then my third note was, and I don't want to get too soapboxy because that's annoying to people, but the unrealistic treatment of sex workers. Like, you know, she's a scammer, and that's fine. There are scammers, but it was a little offensive because most sex workers are not. They're just usually single moms and yoga teachers and other things trying to survive and providing a service that is part of our world. So the fact that she like cased his house and the whole thing was planned, and she effectively used him. I mean, he's only a pimp because she had the idea. She kind of used him. And in that sense, he's the protagonist, but he's really just along for the ride. The whole thing is Lana's plan, sort of. And that, you know, the Jezebel, the evil woman thing is a little, you know, I mean, she says she has emotions, but once you're done watching the movie, you don't even know if she ever did. And I would argue that she probably didn't, right? I don't know. Yeah. But she was kind of, so.
She didn't even take a cut of the cash, if I recall, either. It was kind of like along the lines of like, he had all the money. You never saw him breaking off a piece for her hard work.
No, and he paid back and did everything. So, you know, maybe she does have like some heart in there to help him pay off his debt and fix his life. And I don't know. I mean, they're like, I'm interested in the lives of sex workers. And so it didn't center them, but again, it's not supposed to. But I would have liked to at least, I mean, maybe they didn't have time to say what kind of life she had and how she got there and, you know, what her other interests were. And I guess it's not germane to the plot, but I like it better when there's a little bit of humanity. Sorry?
I said it's a very quick conversation on the hood of the Porsche or backstory.
I mean, yeah, there's a little of it, but
that's the part where he takes his finger, puts on his lips, and goes, "Shh, I don't care. I'm paying you."
I mean, I can't tell you how many said to me, like politely, you know, that you're paid to leave. And sometimes that's tough to stomach, but it's a job, and all jobs are sort of like that. So
wasn't that Charlie Sheen's famous quote?
Pay him to leave. I mean, it is definitely true. You're paid to provide no drama and be more like. I mean, everybody says they want you to be a real person, but they're always lying. They don't really.
Please say you don't do breakfast tomorrow. Please say you don't want to go to breakfast tomorrow.
Oh my God, right? Don't tell me you have any real problems or life or any of this. Be whatever I said you were. But yeah, the Jackie, the trans one, presented as a punchline, like that's not what I wanted, is, I mean, I get it. It's the 80s. It's 40 years ago. So like, I don't expect them to be like super, but having been in sex work and knowing that like millions of men who present straight love trans sex workers. That's a huge business. It's very common. They often like them for lots of different reasons. I guess it would have been a whole different movie if Joel had hired a trained sex worker and had a great time. but the reality of a trained sex worker is not a joke. I suppose.
I was gonna say, I think that makes light of, like, how many bachelor parties have we all been to? Well, guys, I'll speak for guys, where you order the entertainment for the night. And I can't even tell you how many times bachelor parties I've been part of. I've been in charge of one where what you order and what you get are completely fucking different. And that's where I'm like, that's funny.
Wish.com.
Yeah.
And then version again. Yeah. I mean, we have a real problem with that in sex work, the photoshopped pictures, the lying about age. Yeah. I mean, the outright sending, the agency will send somebody that's just not the person in the photos. But
I ordered Vicky Vale from Batman, and I got Vicky Lawrence from Mama's Family.
Admittedly, most sex workers also find their clients physically repulsive too, so fair's fair.
But they're the ones with the dollar, so they speak louder.
Correct. You have the right to have what you purchased, right. and there is a quality control problem in an industry that has no accountability. Yeah, it's tough. So, right. And at least Jackie, like, she kind of hustled him for the travel fee. And then she recommended her friend, which is pretty cool of Jackie. So,
$300 for doing nothing. At least have him read a bedtime story to you.
What is the referral rate for referring your sex worker friend? Yeah. Is it that percentage?
I mean, I guess
6%, like real estate.
I think nobody, like, back in the day, so in the beginning, I had black and white photos on the internet, and I said I was Hungarian and Italian, and I have blue eyes, and I'm Caucasian, but guys don't read. And I showed up in the very beginning, and a guy thought I was going to be Latina, and I didn't know what to do. I was like, well, I say I'm not Latina. And he said, you look exactly like my wife, who is divorcing me right now, showed me pictures, and just wanted me to massage his head while he sat at the bar and drank, and he paid me and sent me home and never spoke to me again. Because I really did look exactly like the wife that was leaving him. And
so why didn't you just put in your description, I look like Courtney Cox if I didn't get shitty Botox?
Oh, right. Thank you for saying that. It's decent Botox. No,
the Groupon Botox that she got.
You probably should have cut him with a box cutter, and then he would have believed you were.
If I had known
he should have had sex with you and done all the things that he couldn't do with his wife.
I felt terrible, and I learned to use color photos that showed that I was like a European white girl, because I learned that they don't read. I wonder if he had decided he didn't want to pay me, I just would have left, but nicely he did. Anyway, I felt really bad. That's the only time that ever happened to me. I had one guy show up, a lawyer from Texas. He waited at the restaurant at the dinner table with those Billy Bob teeth in and an iPad. And he was pretty well known, so I knew what he would look like. I had Googled him.
George Bush Sr. Got it.
No, but I showed up and he had these fucking teeth and the eye patch, and I was like, I didn't know what to do. And then he takes them off and starts cackling, and honestly, it was really funny. Oh. Like, he was trying to bait and switch me, I guess. So
the old okey doke. That's funny.
Yeah, he's passed away now. He was a good dude, but so yeah, along the lines of like the kind of terrible treatment of the teenage fantasy of like getting laid and being a pimp. I also thought it was kind of the gross excess Reaganism, but I think my fourth point about that gross excess of capitalistic greed, that one is iffy, because I think that's what the directors were trying to make a point about. And it was also the 80s when that was, it hasn't aged well, right? And Joel at one point does say he wants to contribute to mankind or whatever, and then they all laugh.
And they throw French fries at him. I've never had a meal with my friends where people throw food at me if I make a contrarian point.
I mean, nice friends, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the thing that he can do all this stuff and then buy his way into Princeton and that he ends up just fine. I mean, we all know about like the rich kid who fails forward. I've dated a few of those guys who were convicted felons and still became CFOs because they had the right look and the right dad and the right fraternity and private school, and they can get away with things.
Well, which Fyre Festival founder did you date?
Not those guys, like corporate 500 Fortune 500 CEOs. I didn't think it was a nice treatment of his parents. They don't even have names, and they're not very loving. They're just
That's so true. I didn't even think of that.
Shitty too. They're shitty.
They're like shitty parents. And again, maybe the director was trying to do that, but I didn't get it. I was like, why is parents so crappy? And they only care if he gets into Princeton. They're kind of uncaring and inhuman. Like, well, whatever.
The dad's real queef about the equalizer in his stereo, so you know there's not many hugs going on there.
You said queef.
I
That's
did
so
say queef.
good.
Thank you.
I thought last couple things. I thought it was hard for me to like Tom Cruise. I don't know. I just didn't like. But that's probably because I'm watching him through the person he's become. It's hard to see like Tom Cruise, the Scientology juggernaut, as that guy. I also thought it angered me a lot that they said you could fix a flooded Porsche in 2 days. Like, what? 2 days? Like, that's bullshit. Like, it went into the lake. Come on. Yeah, the parents glorified pressuring kids. Like, they put so much pressure on him. And I think we've seen what that does to kids. And parents, there's a little pressure, but maybe not like that. And then I said earlier that I thought the original ending was better. It was darker. Mm-hmm. I liked that he became cold and had her sit on his lap. And I liked the original ending better. I wish they would have kept it. So there we go.
Give me a number 1 to 10.
On the whole movie?
Yeah, what do you think? 1 to 10, what do you think?
I think it's a 6.5.
Okay, that's a lot higher than I thought I was going to expect.
I think the soundtrack is a 10. I think the cinematography is a 9, and I think the plot is like a 2. So depends what.
Okay, so overall 6.5. I didn't expect that, but that's cool. Terry Loda, fire away. What notes do you have?
I was just telling you earlier today. I'm like, I couldn't even think of the last time I watched this movie.
Me neither.
I feel like I've watched it more than I've actually watched it. So it was, I had forgotten that his name was Joel, and I'm like, I had to look it up. He literally, I think that's the only leading Joel character in a movie ever. And I just, Joel was a smelly kid in my elementary school, and like. He used to wear a camouflage jacket, which didn't really work because you smelled them before he came in your line of sight.
Poor Joel.
Worst hunter in his class.
Yeah, exactly. But going on, I mean, you have his buddy Miles in it, which Booger. He's always going to be Booger in anything I ever see. But I love the fact that he literally plays the same type of role. Like, he's the antagonizing friend that's getting him into shit, right? He's the bad ideas, he's calling the whores, and I mean, I grew up with a person like that, and his name is Kevin Goatee. So
what?
I know exactly.
How dare you? Edit that out.
when you watch some of this as like the movies from 1983, and you forget, like I was thinking it was more like later 80s too, and but the group of high school Ivy League kids sitting around the table, and they're just yearning for a $40K a year job. It's kind of like, how do you relate to the only people chasing that dream salary nowadays are line cooks in a restaurant. So. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong in this, but I don't see Rebecca De Mornay as a high class prostitute material. Like,
no,
and she's the high earner, right? And like, first of all, she picked up on whatever night it was, so she wasn't busy, right? She's sitting at home. I just feel like she's like barely attractive to have a white pimp. Like, that's pretty much like the level that
she's beautiful.
Plus, I mean, the bangs, I guess that was like back in the 80s, right? There was bangs and stuff, but it still gives me like the Lloyd Christmas vibe. So I mean, I don't have hair. I can't really be talking shit, but just the bangs didn't really do it for me. But hey, that was 83. I mean, I just kind of saw her as like, maybe she's the girl in your office that you just kind of get used to, and then you end up dating and have kids, and you just become, fat and lazy together.
You mean the Pam and Jim from The Office kind of romance?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. She's the receptionist, but I don't even remember what else she was in. Aside, I had to be reminded that it was
Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Yeah, I remember that.
Her other claim to fame, because she really, like, I associate her name with like being more in more things, but the biggest thing when you say that name to me, I instantly remember the skit with Wayne's World, where they're reviewing the Oscars in 1992, and she is awarded Best Dressed according to Garth and Wayne, and he refers to her as Rebecca De Mornay. So that always like rings in my head. But I kind of find it funny that people were cashing in savings bonds for sex. Like the last time I cashed in a savings bond,
Right?
I bought a Mongoose BMX bike. Like that was I don't do they even exist anymore? Do people give those away? That was like a grandma gift that I
GT's, Predators, and Diamondbacks. Those are the three bikes of back in the day.
That's right. I know it was the 80s, but I find it a little bit scary that the closest thing Joel uses to protection is when he calls her wearing a catcher's mask. And that's the last of the protection with this prostitute. And I really, I'm thinking about the train scene. I don't know what causes herpes faster, unprotected sex, grappling with the homeless guy, or kind of grinding your raw ass into a subway seat. One of those three is the quickest way to herpes. I'm just not sure which.
I want to know what sexual proclivity she has, where she needs a mop and bucket, where she can actually perform in front of a guy who looks like that crazy motherfucker from Ghost.
Get off my train.
Yeah, that's it.
17-year-old Joel calls a prostitute for the first time in his life and then just falls asleep on the fucking couch. Like, how are you that relaxed, dude? Like, I would have rubbed one out 2 times, so I made sure I got my money's worth when she got there, because I don't want to equate the hour to minutes wage that I would be paying there. The other thing a little bit disturbing, so you got that opening sex scene, right? The door flies open, it's, leaves and shit, and it's all, hot and passionate. You're starting to get into it. And then they're on the desk chair and they're going to town on the desk chair. And what happens? The camera pans to a picture of 2 little boys. So if that's not confusing for your hard on, I don't know, but that was a little unsettling to me. I was just, trying to talk it down after that. The other thing you guys already kind of touched on was the Megan Mullally thing. I figured you guys were going to catch that one, but I looked for her in the movie. I did not find her. So to me, that means the fucking egg had a bigger role in this movie than Megan Mullally. Fuck right off.
The MacGuffin was better billed over fucking Megan Mullally. That's hilarious.
Was it Fabergé? Is that what that is? Is that Fabergé?
No, it wasn't even that.
Crystal?
Yeah.
What the fuck is it?
So what's it? Swarovski? Amy, was it Swarovski?
Something fancy. Is an egg.
Yeah.
I thought it was like a loss of innocence kind of analogy, right? I don't know what it was.
Yeah, the mom was barely pissed, like, Joel, I'm disappointed in you. Not even like, are you kidding me? That was $15,000, you little queef.
Right. There's no way that fucking Equalizer was right after pulling all that shit in the house. So he should have went back to the Equalizer. I do wish Jackie had a bigger part in the movie, right? The only black person in the whole fucking movie, and they just really kind of portrayed him to be something terrible. But
what if Jackie? Wait, hold on. What if Jackie was played by Jackée? Then that would be a fantastic role.
So good. Sassy.
Yeah, maybe she derails Miles' Harvard career by whatever sparks inside of him after one night with Jackie. That could have been a subplot maybe. I agree with Amy, and I just don't know. At the end of the movie, he's like, we grossed $8,000, and then he somehow fished a drowned Porsche out of a lake that had fish fucking in it, and refurnished his house with $8,000. I mean, that is just a dream right there. I wish I could, I don't know what that money translates to. Kevin, you have a magical calculator for New World money, but yeah, I mean, looking through some of it, it just, the answering machine. I loved her giant answering machine that was on there. Like, they make window AC units that are smaller than that answering machine. So it's a little, anybody watching it nowadays, I don't think they could relate to it, People being home and answering a phone when you call, like, that's crazy to me. Who answers their phone?
Ever.
I do. Out of nostalgia purposes only.
But that was, at the end of it, I thought, like, I didn't really laugh as much as I thought I would. And it's billed as a comedy, I guess, dark comedy, but I don't know. There's only a few laughable moments, but not what I had remembered. But maybe watching it as like a horny 13-year-old was a bit different than an exhausted 47-year-olds trying to help a friend out.
Thanks, pal. I appreciate you as always. Give me a 1 to 10 in this.
I'll give you before and after. Right
All
before,
right.
I thought it was like a solid 8, right? And then going into it's going to creep down to like the 6 for me. Like I don't think I would. I might stay in one of like the little sex scenes as I'm flipping through, as long as the kids aren't in the room. But
Before it pans over.
yeah, yeah. Other than that, I'm gonna just pass. I'll just move on to the next one. But the other thing too, you were mentioning you hoped everybody was 18 that was in that house banging, but if you remember the scene with the Princeton guy, the 2 kids come up to the window.
Oh, the cousin. That's right. There's no, yeah.
To get his younger brother laid, and the kid, he's like, I got to get him home. The streetlights are on. Come on, can you get him in? Like, I mean, it's
Those are,
kid, yeah.
It's
He's
problematic.
definitely like 13.
6. So 6.5, 6. These notes brought to you by guttingthesacredcow.com, where you can find yourself a sweet ass hat, bag, mug, shirt, whatevs. Go find us on the socials at GTSC Podcast on Twitter, Gutting the Sacred Cow Podcast, Instagram, TikTok. Notes. Look at Balky engaging in dirty talk early on in this film. I sure hope he bangs one of those hookers later on, walks out, and does the dance of joy with Booger. It's also funny that 2 out of the 4 of Tom Cruise's friends in this film went on to have successful careers, and the other 2 probably mule heroin for the Median cartels. Amy's laughing, but there's no sound coming out to describe it for all of our listeners, not our viewers. How come we don't see any more movies where parents go away and shenanigans ensue? House Party, Home Alone, Weird Science, Short Circuit, Sophie's Choice. None of these movies anymore have parties like that. When their parents aren't home, some kids skid across the floor wearing nothing but a dress shirt and underwear while singing and dancing like they're at a Bruce Springsteen concert mosh pit. Others just beat off all the doors unlocked, call their friends to come over and play video games, and then discuss all the things they would do to girls that would never give them the time of day. Those are 2 different high school tales. One's reality, one is not. The Memo Minder, that little creation that Balky and Cruz came up with. Remember we had to make these garbage ass knickknacks and sell them door to door when we were in elementary school, Terry?
Yes.
And then give the money to the school like they did anything? That was a real racket.
School system.
Ever call a hooker for a friend? I haven't. I just wrote their addresses on gay magazine subscription cards and then check the bill me later category.
so mean.
I completely forgot he had a drag queen come to his house first. He should have asked Jackie, like I said, to read a bedtime story before setting her off with $300 for doing nothing. $300 back then is a lot. Why the? Yeah. Oh, Tu Wong Fu reference. Very good. Why the hell does he have a blinking neon sign in his room when he's trying to go to sleep? This sounds more like a Japanese game show. Go to sleep without having a seizure. Are you ready for me, Ralph? No woman has ever said that phrase and then instantly was not regretting what was about to happen next.
Fair.
Ladies, good luck getting wet for a dude named Ralph. That's my assertion here. I've never hired a hooker. If I would, I sure as shit would not bring her to my house. Because what little experience I have in this arena, I can also assure you this. I would not leave a hooker alone in my house when I left. Who does that? Artie Lang told a great story on Stern. He went to go take a piss and he told the hooker, when I'm in the bathroom, I want to hear you clapping every 3 seconds to know she's not stealing shit.
That's smart. That's really smart.
Yeah.
I'm digging the 80s synth soundtrack from Tangerine Dream. Oh, and by the way, Tangerine Dream, that's what the Asian dude who walked around Quaker Bridge Mall while having an unlit cigar in his hand with the Walkman on was listening to because I asked him. He's a local legend. We're back in Central Jersey where we're from. So, yeah, this guy would walk around the mall he was a smart dude because I asked him for about 5 seconds. I go, what are you doing? He was like, oh, it's for my health. I walk around the mall. He has an unlit cigar he would carry in one hand and a Walkman in the other, and he was listening to Tangerine Dream.
Just like on repeat?
Exactly. You see, every time you went to the mall, you saw this guy. And at one point, I broke down. I go, I have to know what's going on. I have to know what's going on. So I stopped him and asked him. My friend's like, you can't go talk to him. I go, why not? He can't shoot me. We're in a mall. Fast forward 30 years later. Uh-oh. So the pimp knocks on the windshield with a gun. Guess who's going to push her out of a moving car like she owes the mob $25,000 in bad sports bets? I am. Get the fuck out. I'm not getting shot over you. I already paid you. Goodbye. Here is the tagline for the movie Risky Business 2. Hooker squatter becomes neighborhood soccer star mom, but has to resort to OnlyFans after she gets divorced and to win the school bake sale competition.
I'd watch that.
Thank you. I've got one backer. Do I have two?
A lot of things going on in there. It's very
His friend Glenn. His Michael Strahan gap-tooth smile is so distracting. I hope when he got his SAG card, it included a discount for braces. All right. That one missed. Okay. Joe Pantoliano's hairline was receding, I guess, when they noticed the ozone layer was receding. Did that guy ever have a full head of hair?
No, he's born like that.
What's that, Terry?
He had a full head of hair on his chest.
Yeah. Chest muff. Anyone else screaming, that doesn't happen when he allows the second hooker to stay in his house unsupervised. Now he has to give not one, but two different bed sheets a Viking funeral, because there's no way I'm ever going to let that in my house again. I'm sorry. Can you kill bed bugs through fire? I think you can. All right. Too much, too little? Sorry. So mean. You're laughing, though, so it looks like someone hit home. No, I'm kidding.
If you fucked her, but you need to burn your sheets, like...
That's more of a ceremonial thing for me. Not that I'm a That's exercising the demons. By the way, there is way too much talking after sexy time that he's had with her. There's way too much dialogue. Isn't it usually like, goodbye? Do you think Trump talked that long to Stormy Daniels like Joel's talking to Lana? No, he did not.
No, you eat and you sleep, right?
That's a spirit. Which car death was more glorious, Joel losing the Porsche or Cameron losing the Ferrari in Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Fun fact, that house is on the same street.
Get out of here.
Yes.
I did not know that.
Those houses, yes, they're on the same street.
Like in real life? Or
in real life, yes.
They can't be far from the Home Alone house because that's also in Illinois.
They're filming everything there.
Hey, I'd rather listen to Tom Cruise talk about Scientology for 4 hours and let a hooker stay in my house for 30 minutes after I'm done. Did I make that point? When all the hookers walk into the house, this was the exact opposite visual when the Omega Moos walked into the nerd's house for their mixer.
Oh, poor Omega Moos.
Boy, I was just going to say, Terry, you son of a bitch.
He did that in college. I was in a sorority.
You don't say.
And
I was in a fraternity. This is equal shitting right here.
There was a really good house at Cal Pike. There were mostly water polo players. A very nerdy, like Omega Mu sorority asked them to have a date party, and the Pikes invited us also, and we came over and hung out with them and drank all of the alcohol that Sigma Kappa paid for, and it was so mean. I still feel bad.
We had they were our Phi Sigma Sigmas.
Not good.
Terry knows. Terry knows. All right, let's do some 80s math. As he's talking to the one fat guy who looked like Artie Lang and Horatio Sands had a baby. Gas, $8. Movies, $20. 3 dates, $60-some. I love the 80s in the math. Oh my God, $60 gets you a round of drinks in Manhattan now.
Right.
But 3 dates, according to our Paco, the Guatemalan cook at Chili's, the rules for dating are as such: first time movies, second time dinner, third time sex, and if no sex, bye-bye, son of a bitch. Right, Terry?
Yeah, that's the rule.
That was the rule he gave that. Now, here's my other problem, too. You pointed this out a little bit, Amy. Not one black or Hispanic hooker in that house. Come on, Tom. All those Highland Park boys, one of them has to have a taste for something darker than Angela Lansbury, for Christ's sakes.
I mean,
You know, for a house of ill repute, there's not much nudity going on. Call me a stickler. Wait, this era, 80s teen comedies had nothing but gratuitous nudity, and you only see Rebecca De Mornay naked once, but everyone's supposed to be fucking. No nudity. This should have been the original PG-13 movie, because it was not as advertised. Because I remember 8-year-old Kevin goes, "Oh my God, there were just nonstop boobies." 46-year-old Kevin goes, "Where are the boobies?"
fair.
Phil Collins in the air tonight. Boy, does that make the rounds of movie soundtracks or what?
Hangover.
Yep.
This. What else?
I don't know. I just felt lazy. I should know those two.
But you're right.
Against All Odds?
There you go. No, that's the other one. Yeah, that's the other one. The quote, "Sometimes you got to say what the fuck." That's something said by plenty of dudes about to go no condom with a rando they meet in a Vegas club. And then they get home, tastes like burning. Another almost spit take from Amy. I'm going to get you, goddammit. Fucking on a train does nothing for me, because when you combine the smell of spilled Miller Lite and homeless people asshole fumes, I would get harder watching cruise ship people attack a backstage buffet at a Morgan Wallen concert than have sex on a subway in Manhattan.
You have a real problem with cruise ships.
I know. Oh, it's the second time I brought it up.
I think it's a really rough stretch to have that a subway car be a train, right? Maybe like it was like old fashioned train, like something nice, like the Long Island Railroad,
New Jersey Transit.
Have you tried to fuck on
Acela?
I never have. Maybe it's awesome. I've never tried.
How about we all have seen Euro Trip, right? Where excuse, no, those cars are private but not comfortable. Not that I had sex on one of those.
I'm gonna get on the 4 after this, and I'm just gonna try to just go by myself and have some sex and see if it's hot. So
nice seeing you, Amy.
You guys prevail.
You know, if I could smell hepatitis, I'd smell it right about an hour from when you do that trip. Can someone explain how the hell they got all of Joel's stuff in the moving truck with the help of maybe one hooker, and then miraculously gets all the furniture back in the house on time? The parents racing back from the house from the airport while Joel tried to get all this stuff on time felt a lot like when Ferris Bueller raced home from school or from his day off, but Ferris Bueller had way more fun music than this. All right. Should have
on the piano keys. That's the extent of the music.
Yeah. No, don't get up. Smells delicious. Dinner's ready. In summary, it would have been nice to see more of Balky and Booger. This was actually a quasi-believable coming-of-age films because John Hughes is an atrocious screenwriter for a lot of these teen comedy films with a ton of That Doesn't Happens. Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink, and the other one I forgot. Normally, these 80s parties have a bunch of wacky nonsense, like Weird Science. They put a goddamn pizza on the record turntable. No one does that in real life. No, we don't need to have themes like in Teen Wolf. It's Styles is running different segments here. No, everyone goes to a party at a high school like, oh, you got a keg? Cool. Is that hot chick going to be here? Cool. That's it. That's everyone. No one is looking for a whole, fraternity mixer, sorority mixer theme. Like our themes of the fraternity house were called candlelight mixers. You know why? Because our treasurer stole money and didn't pay the electric bill. Thus, candlelights by mixer were mixers by candlelight. True story. I got Mandela affected. Like I said before, I thought there was a hell of a lot more nudity in this film. But all in all, this movie is just fine. I wasn't laughing. I mean, smirking here and there. I thought it was funnier from what I saw as a kid. But boy, again, another Mandela effect. It's fine. It's unremarkable. Will I watch this again? Probably not. Did I hate it? No, but it's not as good, obviously, as we all remember it, because I also have a 6 down for the old scale. So 6, and a 6.5. We're all in lockstep. Now, let's hear what those asshole blowhards say when they make those cutesy poo little metaphors and puns. Critics 5-star reviews. Mildly diverting, wildly overrated. All right, I'll buy that. It works well as a comedy, but one cringes at that thought of what it defined for a while, the social expectations of a generation.
Is that
Not
Amy's review?
Yeah. It's not it's funny. These aren't blowhardy yet. Let's try this next one. As adolescent adventures go, Risky Business is an invigorating first-class affair. It manages to make a coming-of-age witty proposition. There's our pun. It's sexy, smart, and funny, but also stylish and filled with social satire and commentary on the culture of money. Under the sexual fantasies is an anxiety about sex and success, and superbly a cynical portrait of capitalist enterprise. Okay, silence speak volumes. Critics.
I want to kick everybody that wrote those.
Thank you.
They are just stroking their own egos with this.
As we say,
it glorifies it. Like, that stuff's not great. It doesn't. Whatever.
This is what we call jerking off into a ceiling fan.
It's messy.
Isn't it? Or if you're into that sort of thing, free bukkake. Critics.
And it's painful if you get too close somehow.
I mean, maybe TT Boy and John Holmes didn't have that big of a problem, but yeah, you're right.
For most of us.
Critics 1-star reviews. A distressingly erratic comedy that's far too slick for its own good. All right. Risky Business, a movie about a nice boy losing his virginity, is a first-time director's clear failure that I normally wouldn't get belligerent about, but the picture is so confused and so strange and so openly corrupt, I can't resist. Resist what?
I mean, corrupt?
Fucking on a train, you can't resist doing that? Well, that makes us all simpatico.
Everybody's fucking adjectives are just out there, man.
Yeah. Well, get ready for another one. A capitalist wet dream. One that we have awakened long from since Screaming.
Have we?
Is that a fortune cookie you just opened?
Yeah.
We've awakened. Like, yeah, nobody wants money or women anymore. That's over.
Yeah, you millennial pussies. No one wants that fun stuff anymore.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, sure. It's
Paul Brickman showing a very, what's that, Terry?
You small breast loving kids.
Yeah. Paul Brickman shows a very strong filmmaking talent, which might blossom if given material worthy of it. All right, enough.
Yeah, I mean, the photography is beautiful. It is. I'll give him that.
Amazon 5-star reviews. Funny, sexy film. This is a classic. It's about a man who gets into trouble when he meets a sexy woman. The story of my life. LOL. Signed, David Hyde Pierce.
What?
Yeah, somebody used Google Translate to put their review in.
Yeah.
That is not.
Yeah.
That's like.
Next, I am not a fan of Tom Cruise. Most of his subsequent movies have showcased a self-absorbed, tense, control freak performer, but here he's wonderful. The other actors are also superb, with the exception of the wooden Rebecca De Mornay, who would eventually develop into an adequate actress and then disappear. The parents are a genius, as are the three best friends. Signed, Tom Cruise's parents, Katie Holmes, Mimi Rogers, and Nicole Kidman. By the way, I am an unabashed, huge Tom Cruise fan, and I cannot wait for Mission Impossible 7. It's going to be goddamn amazing.
That guy's like, what is he, 61? Like, he's not human. Maybe it's all that Scientology.
No, it's all that HGH and serum from runaway, teens from Mormon land whose blood that he infuses.
Like, pretty amazing dude. Like,
I mean, he was able to spike in a volleyball game in Top Gun. I mean, that's just
all while wearing jeans.
Dude, like
28 length.
Yeah, 28. Did he put on some weight?
He left each wife when she hit like 33, right?
Oh, he left each wife. You're funny, Amy.
You think they left him? I don't think anybody left him.
Yeah.
Where they escaped.
Oh.
I watch Risky Business every year or so just to fantasize. Love the actors, De Mornay, of course, but all do an excellent job. Richard Mazur's dialogue and expressions during the interview with Cruise are priceless. In my next life, I'll come back as Joel Goodson, and for Future Enterprisers Club, make decorative planters, ellipses, not.
Fantasize about what? They didn't say fantasize about.
I think let's just focus on how he brought the not back into our lexicon, which to that, I wish he'd be flogged to the cat of nine tails repeatedly.
Signed Borat.
I love when this came out all those years ago, though it doesn't seem like that as many as it is. I still laugh when Guido the Pimp is said by a buddy of mine. When something is chasing anything, there was really a lesson to be learned back then. Breaking a few rules when you are younger makes you a better man tomorrow and every day after. Till my old knees can't take it, the wife will have to deal with impromptu dance sessions of when old-time rock and roll come on anywhere. I wish the powers that be could make movies feel like they did back then.
This guy just does that around his house in like tidy whities and socks.
Watching old people dance to the old-time rock and roll song for me is like watching a dog get run over while sitting next to someone shit themselves on a subway.
Extreme.
Sounds like the type of couple that gets up and dances in a dive bar when no one's actually playing. And that's a big night out.
Dancing Queen, that's our song. My son treated me to this movie shortly after it was released. He proudly informed me that since he looked something like the kid in the film, he could become a movie star too. For weeks, he slid across the kitchen floor in his socks laughing. He was killed in a hiking accident later that year. Every time Cruise makes a movie, I buy it because it makes me so think of Steve. His films are very good. This one and The Last Samurai being my favorites. My question is, did his son slide in his socks right off a cliff or into a bear's mouth? While playing old-time rock and roll. Roar, he gets eaten by a bear. That curveball was I laughed harder reading that review than anything else.
Is that real?
Yes, it's all cut and pasted.
Oh my god, I want to meet this person.
No, you don't. Amazon.
I do.
If you do, you need to bring bear spray because apparently it runs in the family. Amazon 1-star reviews. Porsche and Marlboro come together to bring you Hooker Party, the movie. Was this the tagline for your Tom Hanks bachelor party?
I wish it had been called a Hooker Party, the movie.
Wow, is this dated? The story about high school boys getting mixed up with teenage hookers is not what I remembered. You don't remember the main plot of this film, guys? What do you remember? I know what I remember. Booger from Nerds and Balky from Perfect Strangers. That's what I remember from this film. Next one. A white teen living off his rich parents has a bad day when he orders a hooker. Then his parents have $1 million egg stolen and the Porsche lands in the river. Oh dear, the stress. So Chad decides to play all pimp with all white blonde hookers with all of his white friends, all in the all white burbs. Oh wait, there was one black person in the movie, a scary black trans woman. But of course there was. No one calls the police, of course, during the high-speed chases or raucous hooker parties because no matter what he does, we get the message. Young white males like him never end up in jail no matter what. His criminality not only unpunished but rewarded. Signed, John Tesh. Prostitution is a very ugly, exploitative scene in real life. Not the lighthearted fun the film portrays. Not the best moral message, to be sure. Well, I say not according to your mother.
Yeah.
Last one. Aside from that, the only problem I have with this is the characters. Everyone is a jerk in this movie. No one is appealing and likable, not even Cruise's Joel, who I found to be as much of a self-centered dick as everyone else. Unfortunately, he followed up by playing the same kind of obnoxious character, Top Gun, Days of Thunder. It took Jerry Maguire and Rain Man for me to gain any respect for him. Anyway, the combination of a creepy, amoral theme and obnoxious characters in this comedy is a total turnoff. Keep the kids away. Well, asshole, it is rated R for apparent reasons, so why don't you mind that?
I mean, you don't have to like him. Did you like Jordan Belfort and Wolf of Wall Street? You're not supposed to always like him, dumbass.
I mean, Leo's so dreamy. Oh, is that me talking again? Hey, Terry Loda, did Amy Taylor gut the sacred cow?
Considering all that we've talked about, and there's been like sporadic little pieces of maybe slight praise for the movie, I got to give it to her. I think she is absolutely right that it is outlived its 80s concept. Looking back on it, it is pretty beat up, concept for a movie. I don't think you would see anything like this in this day and age. That's how you know I'm old. I say things like this day and age. But yeah, I think I would give it to her.
I'll agree. I was a little surprised for her to give it a 6.5. For her, I thought she was going to come out and hate it, but it wasn't pure hatred. It didn't. But I'll give it to her nonetheless. It was a fun dance. Thanks everyone again. We appreciate it. Hope you had a good time, and we'll see you next week. Avita Zen.